3 through about 6 or 7 in your book.
Like Dr. Kelly mentioned, we have you should have these in front of you, but we're just going to go over kind of what we're proposing as far as the budget and tax rate. Kind of go briefly through some different things that were that are included in the budget, and that includes a starting teacher salary of $46,500. That is up $500 from last year. Salary increase for teachers and nurses, that's a step plus 500, and then 3% raise of midpoint across the board. We're also having to deal with increases in prices, everything. So utilities, insurance. I know that we've had a board meeting recently looking at insurance prices, so y'all know exactly how much those are going up in the future. We've added an additional police officer to the force this year, and then our WARE grant, which has run out, we got to use a LPC and got to see how much that benefited the district. And so we've actually included keeping her around this year in our budget. And then we've also added a few new teaching and para positions, different campuses. All right. So in red up there, you're supposed to look at that first. That is that's the big news, I think, of the meeting. So this is our proposed tax rates. M&O at 0.6994, INS at 315, with a total rate of just over $1, 1.0144, which is just over 4 pennies decrease from last year. So that's a rate going down while we have a bond going on. So I think that's a pretty good deal. So that really is due to state compression, compressing that M&O rate down. And so it's going to take the burden off a lot of our property owners here locally. And really, it's going to shift a lot of that financial responsibility onto the state, or they're going to pick up kind of the rest of that tab. The taxable property value going down is also going to be due to that $100,000 exemption that our homeowners are going to see when it passes, because I can't imagine that people are not going to vote for a larger homestead exemption, but that will go out to the voters. And I believe that we're going to see that certified taxable property value go down significantly to that point there. Projected enrollment, 3126, and I believe as of today it's at that or above that.
3204 today.
There we go. So that's great news for us and our budget.
Probably first time Bridge City's ever seen 3,200 students.
Probably. So, and that projected ADA of 2970 was built off of that enrollment at 96%, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
95%.
95%. Thank you. 95% ADA. So we'll kind of take a look at our enrollment figures going forward and maybe make some adjustments. We'll see.
One thing I'd like to add to that is benefit for citizens. The $1.0144 is after an additional homestead exemption. So their everybody's school taxes should go down dramatically. And the good news about that is the state's going to pick up not only the M&O side, but the INS side. So that's going to help us. We were very fortunate with when we passed our bond that we are now qualified that the state's going to pick up that. If we wouldn't have done it when we did, if we had delayed or done it in separate sections, we might have not received this benefit from the state. So although we didn't know it at the time, it was definitely a good decision. So it does.
It really couldn't have been there couldn't have been a better time. Our financial advisors were spot on, and
I would say the state will end up picking up like 15 to 20% of our bond payments.
All right, we're gonna look at a little bit about where our revenues are coming from. So the general fund revenues, again, that's gonna come from taxes, local taxes, in the form of our property taxes, M&O and INS, and then the state kind of supplementing the rest of that, whatever we're not picking up from our property taxes, and then the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program that we participate in, we get reimbursements through that, as well as selling other food items in the cafeteria. And then our debt service fund, bonds, and then as you'll see in expenditures, we'll be paying off those bonds. And that is in total estimated revenues of $35,925,885 in the budget for this year. This is expenditure by function from our general fund. And most of these come in the form of salaries, as any school district has. But function 11, instruction, so anything dealing with instruction is categorized there. That's salaries, materials, technology, anything that we can tie to instruction. Instructional resources, media services, that's library, materials, salaries, software that goes into dealing with our library services. Curriculum and instruction, staff development, kind of self-explanatory, but staff development that we send our staff to or that we host, or any salaries that can be related to curriculum and instruction. And then 21, instructional leadership, 23, school leadership. So that's different levels of leadership throughout the district, just depends on what it is. Those get categorized a little bit differently. And then most of these are, guidance and counseling, health services, transportation, food service, pretty self-explanatory there, but you can see the proposed budgeted amount for each one of those. Give you a second to look through that. Plant maintenance and operations, that's increased due to fuel and insurance. So all that falls under there.
JJAP, a couple of years ago, once a student got to DAP, we kind of ran out of discipline choices, I guess. And so if a student went to DAP and then got in further trouble out there, we were, at that point, you expel them home, you expel them to the streets. And we wanted a consequence above and beyond our DAP program. And so this will be our second year that we have seats over at JJAP. So students that make it into DAP and need further consequences from there now have a spot to go. And they would much rather go home than JJAP. So it's a good deterrent, and I think it's helping them act better in DAP.
Where's that?
Jefferson County.
It is.
At the mini Rogers facility.
Yes, I believe so.
It's behind that, the prison.
They have a separate little entrance, kind of drive around the back side of it, back there.
And we transported that.
Yes. And you can see expenditures and revenue are the exact amount. So we brought you a balanced budget.
Balanced budget in your hands. I know that there's a lot of districts around Texas that are not able to do that right now. So Melinda, I think you want to talk about just how happy, she's been very happy about being able to balance it, so.
It's been a tough process. It's it's a tight budget, it is, but that's the state we're in right now. Hopefully, as you know, the state will come in September with a special session. You know, there's some things that are not in the budget we would have liked to have in the budget, but hopefully, when September comes around, the state can help us out, we'll go to add that in. But overall, I'm very happy with how it turned out.
What happened, you guys was that right in the balanced budget?
Thank you.
Me too. That'd be one of my, bad dreams.
This would also be an agenda item in our regular board meeting, and so that's where we will vote for adoption.
And we can ask if there's any questions at the public meeting. So.
Any public have any questions? Good news, you know, when we passed when we were proposing the bond and going out for the bond and told the public a 21-cent increase, I mean, we were just being transparent and honest and really kind of telling the worst case scenario, because the last thing we wanted to do is say 15 cents and it ended up being more. And so, you know, I think we will not see the 21-cent increase. That's pretty evident that we're at $1.01, and I think the 21-cent increase at the time, I believe we were at $1.05 or $1.06. So, you know, it'd been like somewhere around $1.26 would have been a 21-cent increase. I mean, so that's 25 cents from where we are right now. There's obviously we're not going to see that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does the board have any questions, comments? There's no further comments from the public, then we will adjourn the public hearing. And then we will call to order our routine business meeting and ask that you rise for the pledge. Gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this day and for the privilege of serving this community. Father, we ask that you lead us and guide us and open our hearts and minds and grant us wisdom as we conduct the business of this board for the betterment of our citizens. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
If during the course of the meeting, discussion of any item on the agenda should be held in a closed meeting, the board will conduct a closed meeting in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551, subchapters D and E, or Texas Government Code, Section 418. Before any closed meeting is convened, the presiding officer will publicly identify the sections of the act authorizing the closed meeting. Discussion will be limited to only items listed on the agenda. All final votes, action, or decisions will be taken in public meeting. At regular meetings, the board shall hear persons who desire to make comments to the board. Each speaker recognized shall limit the presentation to 3 minutes. If an issue mentioned is listed on the agenda, the board will defer discussion of this issue until the appropriate time during the meeting. When referring to specific district employees, with the exception of the superintendent and board members, please use the person's title only, not your name. Statements made during public comment are the opinions of the speaker and not necessarily those of the board or district staff. During public comment, please refrain from yelling, using profanity, interrupting other speakers, making personal attacks on district employees, or engaging in other uncivil conduct. Speakers can be held liable for their statements. So we did have one speaker that has signed up. Carly Broussard.
Is this one supposed to sing?
Yes, ma'am, you can send right there.
All right, so I think I know most of you, but my name is Carly Broussard. I am a proud graduate of the class of 2007 of Bridge City High School and also a proud Bridge City resident. I just wanted to come today just to show my support for our administration. I know that it's been a rough start to the school year. There's been a lot that you guys have faced and have had going on. But my husband and I specifically chose to live in Bridge City. We lived in Mid-County when we first got married, and we chose to move back here because we knew that we wanted to raise our kids in this school district. That was the main reason. I worked for Lamar for 10 years, the last 3 of which were in financial aid and scholarships, so I can understand the pull between government regulations and trying to serve people well. And I think that our administration here at Bridge City ISD feels that tug, but does that job in a really great way. In 2020, I left that job at Lamar after 10 years, and unbeknownst to me at the time, I felt like the Lord was pushing me to leave, and He provided me an opportunity to come work for the high school. And I'm not allowed to say people's names, so He allowed me to work for the high school. I was the principal secretary over there for a year. And what happened was 2 months after I took that job, my daughter, who is 6 and in first grade at Bridge City, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so that provided not only a safe haven for me professionally, but it allowed my child to attend pre-K at Bridge City Elementary. And that was a saving grace for our family. She got to be with wonderful school nurses who loved her. She got to be with teachers who cared about her and understood her condition. And so this district has meant a lot to me, not only professionally, but personally to my family, because I feel like my kid is so well taken care of. I no longer work for the school district. I work in another capacity, but I still see that support daily. Emma's a bus rider. She rides the bus home every single day. And I know at the beginning of this school year, we had a rough time with the bus routes, a rough time with pickup, a rough time with traffic. But I can see our administration not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. I've seen our director of transportation driving a bus on the regular. I've seen those drivers before school started making routes to time things. I've seen our superintendent loading kids in cars in the afternoons. And so I'm appreciative to work for a district who doesn't just say things, they show that they do things. And as a parent, that's very meaningful to me. I emailed Dr. Kelly last week just to talk to him about what's going on with traffic and the bus situations. And the other big thing I appreciate as a parent is I got a response directly from him. I didn't get pushed off to the side. I didn't get somebody else's response. I got a response, and it was full of data about why the decisions that were made were being made. And so I know when I approach this school district or when I have a question about something, I'm not just going to get some lousy answer. Y'all are making data-driven decisions, and as a parent, that's very meaningful for me. So all that to say, I've seen it from the staff side, I've seen it from the parent side, and I'm just grateful to reside in a district full of people who I believe care about my family and care about my kid and are making decisions that really support this community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is consent action items. I'll give you a second to look those over, and if there's any questions or anything, we'll take a motion that we've given us presented.
So moved. Second.
I have a couple of questions, or just one question. Hey, on utility cost, is that the energy saving program?
Yes, and I can't remember for July, I want to say we saved 20,000.
Year to date looks amazing.
Yeah, the year to date on the
It really looks good.
energy savings is pretty incredible.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor of approval of the consent action items, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Thank you. Agenda item number 5 is the Bridge City ISD Educational Foundation.
Good evening, Madam President and Board. I just want to give you some great news from the foundation. We met last month, and the board voted to double the donation to the mini grants or the grant project that we have in conjunction with BCISD. So we are giving $20,000 to that project this year in our second year of operation. So we are extremely excited about that. We are not slowing down though. So our golf tournament is October the 28th. And so we'll be out at Babe Zaharias Golf Course again for that. And so you'll start to see our flyer. We got it updated, had the wrong date on it, but we got it updated. And so it'll start going out. We'll be looking for T-Box sponsors for $100, and that can be anybody or anything. And also then the teams will be $400 a piece. So we appreciate your support for that and share that information with anybody you know that may play golf. So that's our next big fundraiser. And then we'll certainly be doing, participating in our community events again this year. So we'll be at National Night Out on October the 3rd, I think. And then we will be at Christmas in the Park as well on that December 1st, I think is the night of that. So continuing to be active. We've our plaque, I believe, for our Cardinal Centurions, our 100 from 100, as many of you participated in. Amanda's working on that plaque, and so we are almost, I think it's probably ordered, and we are working on that, and it will be hung here in the administration building, so we're excited about that. And then also working with Natasha and Grady to start recognizing those Cardinal Centurions maybe at Friday night on the big screen. And so we'll get to see those names flashed up there so our community can see the work that the foundation is doing and be proud of what they have supported and what they've contributed to. So looking forward to the grant, the mini grant process. And we will kick that off next week, I believe, with Kara. Yeah, so we're excited about that. Answer any questions if you have them. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Patty.
Agenda item number 6 is a construction update.
Oh, he did it wrong.
I don't know what I was.
What did you do?
Take the one from each pile.
Each pile.
Okay, and then I'll give you that one. Thank you. And then you get this one.
We'll start with the
We'll start with the elementary school.
elementary. Start with the elementary school.
So, elementary school, you can see the pictures. I think most of you have been in the pre-K wing. So the top picture is the pre-K corridor, installation of the floor and wall finishes at the bump out. So that's the 4 classrooms that we're receiving the restrooms and the closets. So we can utilize those as 4 classrooms. And then you can see the courtyard in the back where the playground will go. Some good news about that, if you look at the red bar, we're currently at 3.1 million, and we had a GMP of 4.9 million. Now we're going to get a lot closer than that with our final check, but we will come in under budget on that project. So the things that are to come, and they will be finished by the end of Labor Day weekend. All plumbing above the ceiling will be tested and insulated and tied in, and that is on 8/30, so that is Wednesday. Thursday, they'll begin installing the fixtures. Friday, finish the fixtures and all the toilet accessories, and then by 9/4, they'll do their final clean and their punch out. So elementary by 9/5, you'll be 100% complete minus any kind of blue tape, finishes. So, and they're kind of working on their punch list at this time too. So, any questions on elementary?
So on the exterior, is that done or is there stuff?
Exterior is finished, except I need to look and see where the building ties together, and it's been gray. They're just waiting on the right color.
I noticed that.
So yes, and that'll match it'll be kind of like a paint that'll match the brick. And then the gate, the mid-September, the playground will go in, and then as soon as the playground is in, they'll put up the gate that has the keypad and everything else. So
What about the gate that's open already on the bus? When you go down the bus, sidewalk, the gate, well, the fence is not complete. Is that correct?
Oh, the fence for the playground. Yeah. The regular playground. Joseph and I will take a look at that. We need to finish putting the fence up, what they took down.
Okay. We'll put that up.
Okay, and then if you want to move to I guess, middle school. So, and then the back of these also, if you look on the back, they've got the floor plans for the campuses too. So the middle school, you can see that they have brought in almost all of the select fill, and they're already compacting that select fill. All this, the storm sewer piping has been delivered and stockpiled over there, and the security fencing is up, and you can kind of see just the construction update year to date, the timeline, you know, percentage of GMP and percentage of money spent on the project. So just at the very beginning of that project, however, if you remember when we started this, the middle school is actually going to probably lag CTE by 2 months. And now it really is just kind of flipped. They'll be doing everything at the middle school and then coming over to the CTE side. And so with that, we'll move into the CTE side. The reason is they have hit so many underground utilities. I guess it was Friday or Thursday last week, they hit a 6-inch water main.